right. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to YouShouldListen.com. Thank you for coming back and tuning in. We're going to discuss a few things this evening. Primarily, we're going to talk a little bit about Super Tuesday and the results, and were there any surprises? Were there any letdowns? Was anyone caught off guard? Did the post stay accurate and things of that nature? And there's also going to be a few other things that I discuss with you as far as how the candidates stand currently as it relates to the nomination process and who appears to be in the lead according to a term called delegate counts. So those just a couple things that we're going to talk about. There's a couple other things that we're going to discuss. I'm not going to keep you too long, but once again, thank you for coming to YouShouldListen.com, and I'll be right with you right after this short message. Okay. Welcome back to YouShouldListen.com. So let's just get right into it, shall we, ladies and gentlemen? Thank you, and welcome to YouShouldListen.com. Let's just go ahead and talk about Super Tuesday. Now, Super Tuesday was just this past Tuesday. Was it yesterday, day before? And essentially, it's the first voting block in the month of March, where there is a number of states that actually vote. And to actually be exact, there were 11 states that voted. Now, the states that voted varied by party. You know, Republicans had certain states that vote, and Democrats had certain states that voted as well. And so those states that voted, there was a lot of delegates that was up for grabs on that particular day, and a lot of candidates got a lot of delegates and some not so much. So let's just go ahead and get into it. So what we have is, first and foremost, on March 1st, we had several states vote: Alaska, Alabama, Arkansas, Colorado, Georgia, Massachusetts, Minnesota, Oklahoma, Tennessee, Texas, Vermont, and Virginia. Okay, now let's talk about the Democratic side first. On the Democratic side, the winners are as follow. Hillary Clinton took Alabama. Hillary Clinton took Arkansas. Now, those two states weren't entirely a surprise, but if you look really closely to the details, it is somewhat of a surprise because of the actual voter block that's turning out and voting for her. It's the same voting block that turned out in droves, actually in record numbers, that voted against her just when President Obama ran in 2008. So just 7 short years ago, these same people that were so adamantly against her are now voting for her. And it's almost like a light switch because a lot of her messaging is still the same, although as of late, she has been adopting a lot of the things that Bernie Sanders, her counterpart, has been saying. So it's just interesting to watch how her campaign is evolving from just one message to adopting Bernie Sanders' message, essentially, to sort of expand her reach. Now, so she took Alabama and Arkansas. Bernie Sanders took Colorado. Okay, and then Hillary Clinton, she came and she took Georgia, another state where the same folks that voted against her is now voting for her. She took Massachusetts. Now, Massachusetts was, in some regards, somewhat of a surprise because Massachusetts being a neighboring state to the Senator Bernie Sanders, and she took that state. And a lot of folks did not anticipate her taking that state. And guess what? I didn't anticipate her taking that state either, not initially at the onset. So the numbers is very, very close. Bernie Sanders, he's came in right around 48.7, 49%, and Hillary is right at 50%. So the difference is very, very minimum. Okay. very minimum. She had about 50%. He had about 49%. And Martin O'Malley, he had about a half a percentage, even though he's no longer in the race. So as far as the delegate count is concerned with that state, because it's a proportional state and not winner takes all, Hillary was awarded 46 delegates. Bernie Sanders was awarded 45 delegates, out of a total of 91 delegates in the state of Massachusetts. So while she did win the overall vote by about 1 point, the delegate count is only separated by 1 as well. So moving right along, she took Massachusetts. Bernie Sanders took Minnesota. He took Oklahoma. Hillary Clinton, she took Tennessee, and she took Texas. Bernie Sanders took Vermont, and then Hillary Clinton, she took Virginia. So those are your winners and losers on the Democratic side, although it's very much of a stretch to say, at least according to some of those races, that Bernie Sanders was actually a loser, because a lot of those races was only separated by a half a point or a point in some of those proportional states, as I explained to you with Massachusetts. However, someone does have to come in first and someone does have to come in second. And in that case, Hillary Clinton, she came in first in 7 of the 11 states, and Bernie Sanders, he came in first in 4. So it wasn't exactly a landslide victory, especially considering a lot of folks anticipated it to be so, considering the fact that Bernie Sanders was literally polling at 3% when he announced that he was running, and Hillary Clinton, the most powerful political machine in America, and having that behind her and her husband and her name, a lot of folks just anticipated her to, just clean house. But it's a very competitive race on the Democratic side still. Okay. Now, on the Republican side, we had some winners and losers, as Donald Trump would call it, losers. All right. So here we go. In the state of Alaska, Ted Cruz. In the state of Alabama, Donald Trump. The state of Arkansas, Donald Trump. State of Georgia, Donald Trump. State of Massachusetts, Donald Trump. State of Minnesota, Marco Rubio. Now, that was a shock to a lot of folks because no one anticipated Rubio was going to win anything. And I do mean anything. But guess what? He won. And he won by about 5 to 6 percentage points. So that was really, really a shock. He came in with just about 36.5% of the vote. Ted Cruz came in second in that state of Minnesota with 29%, followed by Donald Trump with 21.3%. And again, those delegates were awarded proportionally as well. So out of the 38 delegates that were up for grabs, Marco Rubio snagged 17 of them, Ted Cruz 13, and Trump, he snagged 8. But way to go, Marco Rubio. He finally got his first win. That's 1 for 15. So that's not bad for him, I guess, which is strange because he's been playing for second place anyway, which is a terrible, terrible strategy. Moving right along, the state of Oklahoma, Ted Cruz. The state of Tennessee, Donald Trump. The state of Texas, Ted Cruz. The state of Vermont, Donald Trump. And the state of Virginia, Donald Trump. Now, let's go revisit the state of Texas one more time on the Republican side, because as you may or may not know, Ted Cruz, he is the sitting senator currently in the state of Texas. So he walked away with 43.8% of the vote. Donald Trump came in second with 26.7%. Marco Rubio came in third with 17.7%. John Kasich, he's still holding on with 4.2%. And Ben Carson got 4.2% as well. But the two ladders, they didn't get any delegates because it is proportional, but they have to poll at least get a certain amount of votes actually having in the delegates, and that's 15%. So going into Texas, a lot of folks anticipated Trump to have a tighter contest because he was, up until the week prior, really a few days prior, he was polling just about 5 or 6 percentage points after behind Ted Cruz, but Ted Cruz was able to pull away, creating a big distance between the two of them. So he walks away with 99 of the delegates. Donald Trump walks away with 38. So that state, just wanted to take a closer look at that because that is Ted Cruz' home state. Now, that's what happened on both sides. Now, as far as the delegate count is concerned, that's what we're going to get into right now. Okay. Delegate count is very, very important because you need a certain amount of delegates to actually have your party nominate you. And now you ask yourself, what is a delegate? Just really quick, a delegate is just a person that is sent or authorized to represent others. Okay. Now, it's usually elected officials or an elected representative of any particular party or conference. Those are delegates. However, there is this other thing called a super delegate, okay, which is unlike delegates, they're unpledged. A super delegate could essentially do whatever they want to do at any given time, all the way up into the nomination. So you can have 10 super delegates on one side, and then they can just change tomorrow without even any type of warning or anything at all. So if we look at the math as it relates to delegates, you'll probably be like, wow, Bernie Sanders is really, really losing really badly. And here's why. Bernie Sanders currently has 427 pledged delegates. Okay, and it looks like Hillary Clinton currently have 1,052. Now you're thinking like, wow, that is a huge, huge difference. And yes, it is. On its face, it's a very huge difference. But if you actually get into the detail of it, she only has 595 that's actually pledged. So that means she has 457 super delegates that's actually pledged to her right now. And you're probably thinking like, how is that even possible? Well, here's why it's possible. Currently, the way the system is set up, these super delegates, as I mentioned before, they can come and go at any time that they choose. And the way that they actually are selected is very, very questionable. Okay, Hillary Clinton, she has a substantial edge among super delegates, right? But this particular group consists of about 21 governors, about 40 senators, and about 193 representatives. But that only makes up about a third of super delegates. Many of the remaining 463 super delegates are establishment insiders. A dozen of them are, some of them are lobbyists. Some of them are just friends, right? And here's the problem. At least 67 lobbyists who attend the convention will be superdelegates, and a majority of them have already committed to supporting Hillary Clinton. Here's the problem with that. You have these folks who are not elected, these folks who basically give campaign contributions, these folks who basically cozy up with these politicians over the years, who are lobbyists for these politicians or these political parties, who are now being given this special privilege for, basically hanging out and being around. And that's not really fair. That doesn't sound fair to you, does it? So you have these quote unquote special people that are not elected, who've just been appointed by party officials, who seem to be pledging all their support on one candidate versus the other without actually seeing how this thing plays out. So just make sure you pay attention and watch really closely to that super delegate and delegate count, because it may appear that Hillary Clinton is way out front, but in fact, the exact same thing happened in 2008. But by May, you saw all those same super delegates switch their affiliation to Barack Obama. And then just a few weeks later, Hillary Clinton, she dropped out of the race. So just pay attention to the delegate and super delegate count. What I'm looking forward to is just a heated debate discussing the issues and how to continue to provide and do great things for our country and for our citizens and the middle class and the folks who don't have a voice, who don't have representation by the big banks or by lobbyists. All right. So on the other side with the Republicans, the delegates are as follow. Donald Trump, he has 319 currently. Ted Cruz, he has 226 currently. Marco Rubio has 110 currently. And John Kasich has 25 currently. And Ben Carson has 8. Now, here's the problem. John Kasich, his claim to fame is he's only sticking around because he believes he's going to win Ohio, which, by the way, we vote on the 15th. Okay, so he believes he's going to win Ohio, and by winning Ohio, that's going to catapult him back into the conversation, which is a long shot, but that's his plan. So we're going to wait and see how that plays out. No one's entirely sure that's going to be how it plays out, but that's what he believes. So we're going to at least give him the benefit of the doubt on that front. Ben Carson, with his 8 delegates, it was just announced today that he's going to be suspending his campaign because he says he doesn't see a way forward, which is actually true. And there wasn't a way forward for him for a very long time, but it's about time that he woke up. Marco Rubio, he still is content with fighting for second place, but he believes, as John Kasich believes, when his state votes, that'll put him back into the national conversation in a more meaningful way, which is Florida, which also votes in 2 weeks. Ted Cruz, he believes that, he has no reason to go anywhere because he's still in the heat of things, which may or may not be true, but he is fairly close to the front runner, who is actually Donald Trump. Now, speaking of Donald Trump, there has been some pretty interesting things that has happened around him. Some very damning things that have happened around him. He's always been a controversy magnet. He loves the controversy. He always been someone who relishes the opportunity to either attack or demean or to belittle or to just outright disrespect anyone who has any disagreement with him at all. Any newspaper, any publication, any human being, if you say something to him, he's going to attack you in the nastiest way possible. That's just been his claim to fame, and there's no surprise there. But there's been some very, very terrible things happen as it relates to race relations in the past few days, and we're going to talk about that right after this short break. Okay. Welcome back to YouShouldListen.com. Thank you for sticking with me. Now, as promised, we're going to get right into these damning race relation, just these disasters. There's been one disaster after the next with this guy, but this latest hit that he's taken is almost unimaginable. But I'm just going to play it, and then we'll discuss it afterward.
About the Anti-Defamation League, which this week called on you to publicly condemn, unequivocally, the racism of former KKK Grand Wizard David Duke, who recently said that voting against you at this point would be treason to your heritage. Will you unequivocally condemn David Duke and say that you don't want his vote or that of other white supremacists in this election?
Well, just so you understand, I don't know anything about David Duke, okay? I don't know anything about what you're even talking about with white supremacy or white supremacists. So I don't know. I don't know, did he endorse me or what's going on? Because, I know nothing about David Duke. I know nothing about white supremacists. And so you're asking me a question that I'm supposed to be talking about people that I know nothing about.
Okay. So there you have it. That's his response. CNN interview just the other day, Jake Tapper. He posed a question to Donald Trump as it relates to white supremacy and the KKK and David Duke, and who came out and appeared to be supporting Trump and all these groups, these hate groups. And he just asked him clear as day, would you disavow? Would you condemn them? Would you separate your campaign from them? Do you have anything to say about it? And his only response was he didn't know. He didn't know. He doesn't know anything about white supremacy, David Duke, or any of these groups. So Jake Tapper made sure that he was absolutely abundantly clear with his next line of questioning. And I'm going to play that for you now so that you can be the judge.
Just talking about David Duke and the Ku Klux Klan here, but
I don't know, honestly, I don't know David Duke. I don't believe I've ever met him. I'm pretty sure I didn't meet him, and I just don't know anything about him.
Okay, so there you have it. Donald Trump's insistence on not knowing anything about David Duke or the Ku Klux Klan or white supremacy or any of the history, the rich, illustrious history of America. He doesn't know anything about it. So I'm just going to leave that with you. I'm going to let you think about that for a while because, as I said, I don't want to have these things too long. I'm going to get back to work for you all. We got a lot more that's going to be happening. We have a debate tomorrow that I'm going to be covering. We have some more states that's going to be voting on this Saturday. So I got a lot of work to do. I want to keep this light. I don't want it to be too heavy. I want you to have fun, get a nice little jolt of political commentary, and just carry on throughout your day. So once again, thank you very much for coming to YouShouldListen.com. I hope that you learned something today and you pass along the word and you continue to come back and make sure you subscribe. Thank you and have a great day.